All right, guys, let's talk about mixing valves. Now, this is my setup. I have basically 3/4 water, SH. I got 3/8 soaps. This one here is neutralizer in it, house wash, and roof. This is a 1-inch manifold. Now, conventionally, everybody puts these things together. They have their metering valve. They have it sealed, screwed on to their check valve. Now, we all know the check valve is a weak point. Whether the spring rots out, they don't have a Haste Oil spring in their SH or what have you, or after putting it all together, we got a little crazy with the Teflon tape, or we're picking up a little curly Q of a piece of the tank when we did a bulkhead or anything like that, and it gets stuck in a check valve. It happens. Normally, whether it's the store-bought brand, whether you make it with the Pentar valves, everybody assembles the check valve before or after the metering valve. They hard plumb it in, which makes it very difficult to service on the road or even in the shop. No one wants to start cracking things loose because you might never get it sealed up correctly. You just don't want to do it. The way I have mine is my check valves are actually up here. Here's the SH, here's my water, and there's 2 for the soaps. Now, you don't necessarily have to have it here. Now, you got to remember, if you buy the right check valves, the cracking pressure is like 1/3 of a PSI. It's very light. So you don't necessarily have to have it located and hard plumbed next to your metering valve. Now, things happen. We're trying to diagnose a problem. We're sucking air, or we don't not getting the flow. Now with this here, we all know the metering valves, you could just unscrew this. I'm going to show you right here. Unscrew this collar here. Unscrew this collar here. Now we're not disturbing any sealed threads. Nothing at all. These are just, and this just slides right out because it seals with the O-ring. They're meant to come apart. We can inspect it. We can blow through it. We could check it out. And then simply, I'm not removing anything. Simply just slide it right back in. By the way, you always want to put a little bit of grease around plastic threads so they don't bind. If you notice, if you don't, you go to tighten it. You feel it, it just doesn't go on smooth. Always put a little bit of grease on them. That also the O-rings. Slide it in. Slide it in, and you're all set. You just screw it all. Do that with any of the valves. Now, I didn't disturb anything that was. I'll show you. Just screws in like this. Nice and easy. Turn it. Hand tight. Right here. That's it. No tools at all. Didn't break any seals at all. Nothing. All right, now let's move on to the check valves. As you can see, I have my check valves in line. Here and here. Now, we all know what they look like inside. Basically, they're almost hand tight. Take it off. Very simple. We've got our spring and the stopper. Now, you got to make sure you put these in right. One is thicker than the other. They only fit in one way. Now, in order to inspect this, to replace the spring or to get debris out of this, you have to disassemble most of your unit. Most of the sealed threads and components and so forth. But with this one here, and you replace the check valve. The way I have mine set up is, I don't replace the check valve. I just keep this in my toolbox. This is an extra spring and a stopper, because 90% of the time the housings do not get screwed up. That's what I keep in here for all of them. Now I want to take a look at the check valve. Maybe I have a problem with it. Maybe there's something stuck in it. Maybe when I see, I start seeing soap being drawn back into one of these pipes where they shouldn't be. Basically, just go to my union right here. Unscrew it. Now you got to remember, these are hand tight. I'm just going to crack this. Sucker's tight. And there we go. We can inspect it. Make sure there's nothing in it. We want to put it back in. Make sure it's in right with the spring. There we go. Sitting up here. Hand tight. Put it back. Hand tight. And we're good to go. Keep these are 3/4. These are 1/2 inch for the soaps. And as you can see, I have actually valves here that I can select. There's 4 different soaps that have come down. That was pretty simple. Whatever system you have, you could take the check valves out. You could put them in line. Put a barb, put a union, another barb. You could put it in line anywhere. And it's easy to service. Anybody who's been running any type of metering valves knows that this is a weak point. Not that they fail in themselves, that we cause them sometimes to fail with debris and so forth. So it's pretty simple way to service that on the field or even in the shop without disturbing any sealed thread components. And it wouldn't hurt every time you do an oil change on a machine. Maybe even just swap out, these things, what, $18? Swap out the spring on the SH side because we know that takes a beating. All right. Hope that helps you guys out. Give it a shot and keep on spraying.